How come humans have such a hard time being kind? Human nature is split between tribalism and selfishness. Unfortunately, evolution kind of sucks and doesn't immediately get rid of traits once they stop being useful. Evolution only goes out of its way to remove traits that are extremely detrimental. Selfishness ensures the longevity of the individual. Tribalism ensures the longevity of small to medium-sized groups. Even in a primarily post-tribal, people will often be selfish and mean towards others outside of their group because there's an inherent mistrust of the unknown. Given the right circumstances, human beings are all too ready to kill by category. Dan Carlin. If everyone were kind to each other, that would be great. But, if almost everyone were kind to each other except for a few who weren't, then the few would take advantage of the kindness. So instead, everyone has to be tough. It's not as pleasant. But it's more stable. I don't really think it's a stretch to say that the ubiquitous nature of capitalism has turned everyone and everything into a competition for resources that is unnecessary. People want to feel like the best thing in life is to win over others who fail, and so we have little drive to advance ourselves and our civilization towards peace, because that doesn't earn anyone money. It all boils down to money. Someone replied, humans have mistreated each other literally for all times where humans existed. Capitalism by any useful definition has been around for a few centuries. That explanation doesn't check out. I disagree with the premise of the question. Humans are kind to each other all the time. Maybe I just live in an odd area, but most people where I am are perfectly pleasant. If I misinterpreted your question and you mean why we got to war and fight each other, then that's a complex, interesting question which I sadly don't have the answer to. I think it's because, how many of us grew up with our parents, or any adults for that matter, teaching us emotional recognition and regulation? Nobody sits you down and tells you how you need to talk yourself through the experience of being angry, and how to do so without causing even more problems. Some people learn that skill along the way, many don't seem to. We're just dumb and unaware of ourselves. We do not know of any other ways to manage negative emotions than to blow up. A more intelligent human recognizes emotional situations, is practiced in, and knows how to keep themselves in check and finds ways to work with others. I think it's just because some humans are wary of their kindness being taken advantage of. Being kind is great, and it feels amazing, but it's devastating to know that you did what you could and in return, you got your heart broken by that one guy who's rude and mean. This is just one perspective of a reason. And oh, humans are very selfish. For me, tiredness. Tired of people who let their anger and frustration out on me when I had done nothing. Tired of helping someone once and they keep coming back for more like starving animals. Tired of people trying to force me into arguments and bad situations that don't involve me when I've got my own things going on. Tired of how people talk first and think later, spreading lies and dramas. Tired of people who act nice only because they want something. After a while you see the world for the selfish, short-sighted mess it is, and you just don't have the energy to give, and you end up becoming part of the problem in a desperate attempt to be left alone. They don't, you're just not paying attention and instead are focusing on people you think are unkind. Also, a lot of people have a bizarre idea of what being kind is, when really it's just self-serving virtue signaling. See, people with signs in their yards professing their virtuous beliefs, while also being anti-poor, anti-homeless, anti-all sorts of stuff. Because society conditions us to be selfish and motivated towards material gains. We're told all the time that that's our nature. People point to the Stanford prison experiment, but we aren't told that the SPE was deliberately set up to produce the results it did. We aren't told about societies that don't depend on financial capital, where people help each other out constantly. We are presented with Lord of the Flies as evidence as though it's a true story, but when a group of boys actually were stranded on a desert island, they worked together and supported each other until they were found. We're naturally cooperative and supportive with each other, but we're conditioned to act more selfishly. and we're told that success is an expensive pair of shoes and a big house. Giving requires abundance. Investment requires faith in the future. We're likely to project bad qualities and finding people to blame for our own mistakes or what is simply bad luck. People will not want to be kind to whatever they perceive as a threat or competition, unless it's sucking up. People are often not interested in those who don't have something of value to offer them, because every action without an immediate or even likely payoff is seen as a waste to people who are obsessed with progress and improvement. Such a fixation is usually caused by a feeling of inadequacy. Think about the pyramid of needs. Being nice to other people, doing good in the world, giving to others, etc. is really not at the bottom of it. The exceptions to this are usually doing good out of pity or guilt or in order to feel like the world needs them. It's not that they're not good people, but I'd rather see people helping themselves back up before they help others, rather than do anything like self-sacrifice. Some people get motivated by helping others though, which is good. They want to be helpful and useful to those who are important to them, and don't care too much about themselves or their own judgments. People are cute when they're not too bitter and negative. The biggest factor I've seen in how people behave is their mood. I don't trust resentful people who preach justice and goodness, because they are simply being bad people after rationalizing a valid target. That doesn't make one a good person even if some find it useful or take joy in that specific target being harmed. Well, there are so many reasons why people can't get along. Upbringing has a lot to do with some things. From day one as a small baby to well into adulthood, you're being conditioned by whoever is raising you. You take in their thoughts, beliefs, and prejudices, not to be confused with racism, as they're the best role model most days. Later on, people can learn to break their programming and think for themselves, but in a lot of cases they can't. Religion has a lot of say as well. One religious group may feud with another religious group over ideals. Politics play too well into this. Being involved with modern politics is almost cult-like. The minute you hear someone belongs to another political party or even hears something they disagree with, they go into murder mode, or my favorite, I can't hear or see you so it must not be real. Insecurity can play quite well into this. I currently work in healthcare and one of my clients has an irrational hatred for Arnold Schwarzenegger. He likes most Arnie's movies, didn't know the political affiliation, he's just jealous because he thinks Arnie is a pretty boy and doesn't understand why he got the breaks and he didn't. This client also doesn't take very good care of himself as he's missing teeth due to his own admitted laziness and is crazy overweight but refuses to diet. Finally, there's good old-fashioned racism. Really don't think I need to get into that. People will literally invent reasons to hate their fellow man. Whether it be race, politics, religion, or just having an inane hatred for someone they believe is better looking than them. If it's different, they hate it. Technology, globalization, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As a society, when we weren't well connected with one another and only had the community in our immediate vicinity, we wanted our community to survive and thrive. We wanted to be able to last the winter, so we all helped out on the farm to back up food storages. We all needed more hands for working, so we all chipped in and helped a mother see through the birth of her child. The mindset was I'll help you to help myself, which satisfies the basic needs of the hierarchy. When technology and globalization came about, no longer did you just see your immediate vicinity but how everyone else is doing too. You don't know what you don't know is a really good phrase for this. At first, you're content and happy with what you have, but once you see the other side, that they work less, they have better clothes, they're prettier, they live longer, etc., that's when envy comes into play and you can't stop thinking about it. It festers because you're envious of what another person has rather than being happy where you are, which is the top part of the hierarchy of needs. When you're envious of something, you get angry, lash out, and do anything you can to achieve it. I argue that since the introduction of globalization and technology, humans as a whole are getting worse at being kind to one another, since we're exposed to so much and at such an early age, alongside the fact that we live in a world of instant gratification. We like feeling good, We like that rush of dopamine, so we crave it more, and before long your tolerance has gone up and then you need even more to achieve that satisfaction. Thank you for listening to Campfire TTS. Please like, comment, and subscribe.